hall was silent except for the low hum of machines hidden in the walls. Cold metal lights cast sharp shadows across the floor. At the center of the chamber stood a young human cadet. Her uniform was torn from weeks of training. Her breath was steady, but her eyes betrayed a trace of fear. Around her, the alien warriors filled the room, watching with mocking smiles and glowing eyes. They had gathered for a trial, and she was the subject. The cadet had been chosen to prove herself, but not by her own people. She stood before a council of aliens, each one older and stronger than her. Their skin gleamed under the lights, their bodies armored in ways no human soldier could match. They looked down at her, as if she was nothing more than prey. "Is this what humans call a warrior?" One alien scoffed, his voice echoing across the chamber. The others laughed. The sound was cruel, echoing against the metal walls. The cadet did not move. She stood tall, her hands clenched at her sides. The trial was simple. Survive. If she lived, she would be accepted into their ranks. If she failed, she would be forgotten. To them, it was entertainment. To her, it was life or death. A heavy door opened at the far side of the hall. From the shadows, an executioner stepped forward. He was larger than the others, his armor thick and his weapon glowing with deadly energy. His helmet covered his face, but the hunger in his movements was clear. This was not a test of skill. It was an execution dressed as ceremony. The cadet's heart pounded. She remembered the words of her commander back home. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is standing while fear tries to crush you. Those words kept her still when the executioner raised his weapon. The council leaned forward. They wanted to see how quickly she would fall. The executioner did not speak. He raised his arm, pointed the glowing weapon at her chest, and fired. The shot struck her with brutal force. A flash of light, a sharp crack in the air, and then silence. The cadet's body jolted backward. The smell of burned cloth filled the room. Her knees buckled and she collapsed onto the floor. Blood spread across her chest, staining the once clean uniform. Her breathing stopped. For a moment, the aliens were satisfied. Some clapped, others laughed. The council marked their records. The trial was over. To them, the human was dead. Just another fragile creature broken in front of their eyes. But the silence that followed did not feel final. It lingered, heavy and strange. The council members looked down at the body again. Something about it felt wrong. One elder narrowed his eyes. "Wait," he whispered. "Watch closely." The executioner stood still, waiting for approval to drag the body away. But before he could move, the chamber shifted. A faint sound, a breath, echoed across the hall. The cadet's fingers twitched. Gasps broke the silence. The council leaned closer, their glowing eyes wide with disbelief. Humans did not rise after such a wound. It was impossible. And yet the cadet's hand pressed against the floor. Blood dripped from her chest, but her arm did not shake. Slowly, painfully, she pushed herself up. Her face lifted from the cold floor, her eyes now glowing with something new, something not human. The crowd murmured. Some shouted warnings. Others stepped back. The executioner raised his weapon again, but it was too late. The cadet's body moved with sudden force, faster than before. In a blur, she lunged forward. Her hand struck with precision, tearing through armor, flesh, and bone. The sound of ripping metal filled the chamber. The laughter of the council ended in silence. When she stood again, she was not empty-handed. Blood soaked her arms, dripping across her uniform. In her grip was the severed head of the executioner. Its alien eyes still wide in shock. She did not speak. She did not scream. She simply stood, holding the head as the room stared in horror. 23 seconds had passed since she was shot. The trial was no longer a game. The aliens who once mocked her now stepped back. Their whispers filled the chamber like a storm. Impossible. How can this be? What is she? The cadet's silence was more frightening than any answer. She did not look at them. She did not bow. She only walked forward, each step echoing. Through the hall, leaving a trail of blood behind her. The council, frozen in their seats, realized the truth too late. They had not broken the human. They had awakened something they did not understand, and the cadet, now reborn in blood, would never be forgotten. The chamber was no longer filled with laughter. The silence now carried a weight that pressed on every chest. The human cadet had fallen, yet 23 seconds later she stood again. Blood covered her uniform, dripping across the cold floor, her breathing slow but steady. In her hand she held the severed head of the alien executioner. The alien's lifeless eyes, still, glowed faintly, staring into nothing. The council had expected victory, but what they saw was a nightmare taking shape. The cadet's steps echoed through the corridor. She did not run. She did not stumble. She walked with a calm that felt unnatural, her face blank, her eyes glowing with a strange light. "Impossible," one alien elder whispered, his claws gripping the railing of his seat. "No human survives a wound like that." Another leaned forward, his voice sharp. "That was not survival. That was something else." The guards near the doors tightened their weapons, yet none of them moved forward. It was not fear of her strength that froze them. It was the way she carried herself. Something about her silence, her steady gaze, made their instincts scream danger. The cadet herself felt no triumph. She felt empty. Her body pulsed with strange energy, her veins glowing faintly beneath her skin. She did not understand it. She only knew she should have been dead. She remembered the pain, the burning heat tearing through her chest. Then darkness. But within that darkness, something had whispered. She could not recall the words, only the feeling, as if something ancient had reached into her, stitching her flesh, forcing her to rise again. The severed head in her hand twitched once. Blood dripped onto the floor, forming a trail behind her. The cadet froze, staring at it. Was it her imagination, or had the head just moved? A faint vibration hummed against her palm, like a heartbeat that did not belong to her. Whispers spread through the crowd of aliens. Some were in awe, others in horror. The youngest among them took a step back, as if distance might protect them from whatever force had taken hold of her. The cadet's boots left crimson prints as she reached the center of the hall. She lifted the head higher for all to see. Her voice finally broke the silence. "You called me weak," she said, her words calm, almost too calm. "You wanted a show. Now look closely. This is your show." The sound of her voice cut through the chamber like a blade. It was steady, but beneath it ran a current of something alien, something that did not belong to her. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. "Kill her," one elder commanded. At once, soldiers surrounded her. Their weapons lit up, glowing with lethal energy. Yet as they advanced, the cadet did not move. Instead, she dropped the head onto the ground with a wet thud. The silence that followed was unbearable. Every soldier hesitated, their instincts colliding with their orders. She stood in the center of the hall, unarmed, blood-soaked, glowing, faintly as though her veins carried fire. When the soldiers finally struck, the world blurred. The cadet moved faster than eyes could follow. She caught the first blade with her bare hand, twisting it until the weapon snapped in half. Blood sprayed across her chest, but it was not hers. She slammed her elbow into the soldier's throat, dropping him instantly. The others attacked together, their weapons slashing arcs of light. But her movements were sharper, quicker. It was as if her body knew what to do before her mind could think. She ducked, rolled, struck, each motion smooth, efficient, brutal. The corridor filled with screams and sparks. Within moments, the floor was littered with broken armor and silent bodies. The surviving soldiers staggered back, their courage drained. The cadet stood in the middle of the chaos, breathing heavily, blood dripping from her hands. Her eyes burned brighter now, almost alive with a fire not her own. She looked down at the corpses around her, her expression unreadable, but inside, fear gnawed at her. She did not understand how she was doing this. These movements were not hers. The strength in her muscles, the speed in her strikes, it felt borrowed, unnatural. Her gaze shifted to the severed head lying on the floor. Its eyes glowed faintly, and for the first time she heard it again. The whisper. Soft, broken, but clear. You are not one of them, and no longer one of yours. Her breath caught. The council members rose to their feet, their voices a mix of rage and fear. Some shouted for her death, others demanded her capture. The hall shook with their panic, but none dared come closer. The cadet stood tall, blood-soaked and trembling, her chest glowing faintly through the torn fabric. She realized something terrifying. She was not just alive, she was becoming something else. And every alien in that hall understood it too. The chamber was not silent anymore. It breathed with panic. The alien council, who once laughed at the human cadet, now leaned back in their seats, their glowing eyes wide with unease. The scent of blood clung to the air, heavy and metallic. Broken bodies of soldiers lay scattered across the floor, their weapons sparking faintly, the fight already over, and at the center of it all stood the cadet. Her chest still bled where the shot had pierced her, but her posture was strong, her movement steady. The faint glow beneath her skin pulsed like a heartbeat, spreading through her veins. It was unnatural, alien, yet it belonged to her now. The severed head she had dropped still lay on the ground, its dead eyes glowing faintly, whispering words only she seemed to hear. She lifted her gaze to the council. Her silence weighed heavier than any shout. The council chamber, once a stage of pride and arrogance, now felt like a cage. The guards along the wall shifted uneasily, gripping their weapons tighter, but daring not to fire. Their instincts screamed what their minds refused to accept. This human was no longer prey. She was a predator. The cadet began to walk. Her boots echoed against the floor, slow and deliberate, each step soaked in blood. She passed by the corpses of alien warriors she had defeated only moments ago. None of them had managed to land a fatal strike. None had even slowed her down. The aliens near the back rows of the chamber whispered in terror. She is cursed. She is chosen. She is death. The cadet's expression remained empty, but inside her mind, chaos raged. Her body moved with purpose, but she did not feel in control. Her heart thumped, her blood sang, and the whispers from the severed head grew louder. Walk forward. Claim what is yours. She bit down on her lip, forcing herself to stay calm. If she let fear show, they would pounce on it. Yet what terrified her most was not the council or the soldiers. It was herself. She had no idea what she was becoming. The chamber doors trembled as more guards arrived, armored heavily, carrying weapons meant for war. They lined the walls, forming a barrier between her and the council. Their commander barked orders in a harsh alien tongue. The line held, though their eyes betrayed hesitation. The cadet stopped in the center of the hall. She raised her arms slowly, palms open, showing no weapon. Her voice broke through the tension, steady but laced with something otherworldly. You wanted me dead, she said. Her words echoed in the chamber. But I am still here. None answered. You called me weak. Now you fear me. Why? Her voice grew stronger, filled with a strange resonance that was not entirely human. It sent a shiver through every alien's spine. One soldier shouted, breaking the silence. She carries the forbidden blood. Gasps rippled across the chamber. Even the council members stiffened. The forbidden blood, a legend among their kind, a secret whispered only in the oldest archives. The story spoke of a human-alien fusion, a failed experiment buried in the past, a creature neither human nor alien, but something stronger. The cadet's eyes flickered with recognition. Somehow she knew the soldier's words were true. The whispers in her head were not lies. They were memory. Not hers, but something older, now alive inside her. The council erupted in argument. Some shouted for her destruction, others demanded she be captured alive. The noise clashed, filling the chamber with chaos. But the cadet did not wait. She moved. With a sudden burst, she leapt toward the line of armored guards. Their weapons blazed, beams of light cutting through the air. Yet she weaved through them with speed beyond reason, her body twisting, dodging, striking. The glow in her veins grew brighter with every movement. Her fists shattered armor. Her kicks broke bones. The guards fell one by one, their cries echoing until only silence remained again. Blood splattered across her face and arms. She did not flinch. She did not slow. When the last guard collapsed, the cadet stood alone once more. Her chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. She turned her head slowly, her gaze rising to meet the alien council. Every elder froze. Their arrogance had vanished. Their eyes betrayed what they felt now: fear, pure, unshaken fear. The cadet stepped closer to them, her voice low, calm, but carrying the weight of a storm. "You see me now," she said. "Not as prey, not as cadet, but as truth." The whispers in her mind grew louder, almost deafening now. She clenched her fists, trying to resist, but deep down she knew the truth. The blood had changed her, and she could not go back. The council members leaned away from her, their faces pale under the glow. For the first time in their long lives, they realized the humans were not weak. They were a threat, and this cadet, reborn in blood, was the beginning of their fear. The chamber still echoed with silence after the cadet's final words. Blood stained the floor and broken weapons sparked faintly in the shadows. The alien council, usually calm and proud, now looked shaken. Their glowing eyes darted from the bodies of their fallen guards back to the human cadet standing tall in the center. Her chest rose and fell heavily, but she did not collapse. The glow in her veins pulsed brighter now, faint streaks of light running under her skin like fire trapped inside. The severed alien head at her feet twitched again, its dead eyes flashing, briefly with a glow that made even the bravest soldier flinch. The cadet heard the whisper again. This time it was clearer, almost like a voice speaking directly into her mind. "You carry us. You carry me. You are not only human anymore." Her jaw tightened. She wanted to scream, to deny it, but part of her knew the truth. The energy inside her, the strange strength, the unnatural speed, it was not hers alone. Something else lived inside her now. The council leader finally rose from his seat, his voice sharp and commanding. "She carries the forbidden blood. It should not exist. We buried it long ago." The chamber filled with nervous whispers. Younger council members leaned closer, fear mixing with curiosity. Soldiers at the edges shifted uneasily, unsure whether to attack or flee. "What is the forbidden blood?" the cadet asked suddenly, her voice echoing against the metal walls. The council hesitated. Then one elder, older than the rest, leaned forward. His voice trembled, but his words were steady. "Centuries ago, there was an experiment. Your kind was weaker then, always breaking, always dying in war. Our ancestors tried to fix that. They mixed alien essence with human flesh. The result was monsters, too strong to control, too wild to keep alive." The cadet's fists clenched. "And you thought it was forgotten?" The elder nodded slowly. "We thought it was destroyed. Every trace of it wiped out. Every subject executed. Yet somehow that blood has reached you." The cadet's pulse raced. She remembered the moment of death, the burning shot through her chest, the darkness that swallowed her. And then, this power, this voice, this fire. She realized the council was not lying. She was no longer the same cadet who had walked into this chamber. The severed head twitched again, and the voice filled her mind. "They fear what they cannot control. They fear what you are becoming. But you are not their monster. You are their end." She staggered back, clutching her head. The whispers were too loud, too alive. They weren't fading. They were growing stronger, filling her thoughts with images of fire, blood, and alien wars from centuries past. The council leader slammed his clawed hand against the railing. "She is a danger to us all. Kill her now before she becomes unstoppable." Dozens of weapons powered up at once. The chamber glowed red with deadly energy aimed directly at her. The cadet's breathing slowed. Her body trembled, but not with fear, with conflict. She was trapped between two worlds, her human self fighting to stay alive, and the alien blood pushing her toward violence. She wanted to shout that she was still herself, that she wasn't their enemy, but the whispers inside her laughed. The first shot fired. The cadet raised her hand instinctively. To her shock, the bolt of energy bent in the air, twisting like liquid light before vanishing into her palm. Gasps erupted around the chamber. Her veins blazed brighter, glowing white-hot under her skin. She looked down at her hand, horrified. She hadn't just survived the shot, she had absorbed it. The whispers in her mind purred with satisfaction. Now you understand. Their weapons cannot kill you anymore. Their fear is your power. The council members recoiled in terror. The leader shouted again, but his voice cracked with panic. She must be destroyed before it spreads. The cadet's voice broke through the chaos, calm yet thunderous. You call this forbidden, but maybe this was never about me. Maybe this was always about you. You wanted to create a weapon, and now you're afraid of what you made. The soldiers hesitated. Some lowered their weapons. Others stepped back entirely. The legend of the forbidden blood had always been a story used to frighten children, yet here it stood in front of them, alive, unstoppable, undeniable. The cadet bent down and picked up the severed head again. She held it high for all to see. Its eyes glowed brightly, its lips twitching with whispers only she could hear. Every alien in the hall stared, their arrogance crumbling into dread. For the first time, the cadet smiled, not out of joy but out of defiance. She had been mocked, shot, left for dead. Yet here she stood, stronger than ever, carrying their greatest fear in her blood. And as the chamber trembled with unease, truth became clear to all. The forbidden secret was no longer buried. It was alive, walking, breathing, and it wore the face of a human. The air inside the chamber was heavy, almost alive with fear. The alien council no longer whispered. Their voices rose in anger and desperation, each elder shouting orders that clashed with one another. Some demanded her capture, others screamed for her destruction. But none dared step closer to the human cadet who stood in the middle of the blood-stained floor, her veins glowing faintly with forbidden fire. The cadet's eyes swept across the chamber. Soldiers lined the walls, weapons humming with deadly power, yet their hands trembled. They had watched her absorb their energy blasts. They had seen her tear through armored warriors like they were nothing. Still, the command of the council weighed on them. They could not retreat. Not yet. The council leader raised his clawed hand, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. Bring her down, alive if possible, dead if not. Do not fail me. At his signal, the great doors at the back of the chamber opened with a grinding roar. From the darkness, an elite strike team marched forward. Their armor was black and silver, carved with symbols of victory. Each carried weapons far more advanced than the soldiers before. Plasma lances, energy nets, and shields designed to withstand the strongest blows. These were not common guards. These were the hunters, warriors trained to fight creatures stronger than themselves. And now their mission was clear: capture the human cadet at any cost. The cadet stood still, her chest rising slowly as she watched them form a circle around her. She could feel the whispers in her mind laughing, feeding on the tension in the air. They believe their weapons can bind you. Show them their mistake. She clenched her fists, trying to silence the voice. She did not want to be a monster, but as the circle closed tighter, she realized she had no choice. The first hunter lunged, throwing an energy net that crackled with light. The net struck her body, wrapping around her arms and chest, sending shocks of pain through her veins. The cadet screamed, her knees almost buckling. The crowd gasped. Perhaps the trial was over, but then her veins burned brighter, the glow spreading from her chest into her hands. With one violent pull, she ripped the net apart as if it were made of paper. Sparks rained around her as the shredded pieces fell to the ground. The hunters did not falter. Two more charged from opposite sides, plasma lances aimed at her heart. The cadet ducked, her body moving with speed she did not fully control. She grabbed one lance, twisting it until it snapped in half. the broken end bursting with fire. With a swift kick, she sent the second hunter crashing against the chamber wall. The fight became chaos. Blades flashed, plasma bolts cut through the air, shields clashed against her fists. Yet the cadet was no longer just human. Her movements, blurred, each strike more brutal than the last. She struck one hunter with such force his shield shattered like glass. She caught another by the throat and hurled him across the floor. Still, the hunters did not retreat. Their training bound them. Their loyalty chained them. One by one, they fell. The floor grew wet with blood, alien blood. The council's strongest, their pride, now lay broken at her feet. The cadet stood in the middle of their fallen bodies, her chest heaving, her uniform soaked in crimson. She looked up at the council again. Their glowing eyes no longer carried arrogance. They carried something else, terror. The leader slammed his hand on the railing again, his voice shaking for the first time. Enough. She is not a cadet. She is not human. She is an abomination. She must not leave this chamber alive. The words echoed through the hall, but even as he spoke them, he knew the truth. None of his warriors could stop her now. The cadet lifted her head, her voice steady, sharp, cutting through the fear that filled the chamber. You sent your best, she said softly, and they lie broken. The whispers in her mind grew louder, almost joyous. Now they see. Now they fear. And fear is the beginning of your rule. She closed her eyes for a moment, fighting the voice. She wanted to believe she was still herself, still human. But the power inside her pushed harder with every breath, tempting her to embrace it fully. The chamber fell silent again. All eyes locked on her. The cadet stepped forward slowly, boots echoing against the blood-soaked floor. She stared directly at the council, her words calm but heavy with meaning. You call me abomination. But the truth is, I am proof. Proof that your control is ending. Proof that humans are not what you believed. The elders recoiled, their claws tapping nervously on the railings. For the first time in their long reign, they realized the weight of their command did not matter. Their soldiers could not save them. Their power meant nothing here. The cadet raised her blood-stained hands, the glow beneath her skin burning brighter. This is no longer your trial, she whispered. This is mine. And with those words, the chamber trembled. The chamber lay in ruins. Broken weapons sparked faintly on the floor, and the bodies of the elite hunters lay scattered in crimson pools. The cadet stood alone at the center, her chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. Her uniform was torn, her skin streaked with blood, some hers, most not. The alien council sat frozen above, their glowing eyes filled with something they had never shown before. Fear. For centuries they had ruled, but now, in this single chamber, that power seemed fragile. The cadet looked down at her hands. They shook not from weakness but from the energy pulsing through her veins. A white-blue glow traced beneath her skin, spreading from her chest into her arms. It was alive, restless, burning. She whispered to herself, "What am I becoming?" The answer came instantly, not from her lips, but from the severed alien head lying near her feet. Its dead eyes glowed faintly again, and the voice filled her mind. You are the bridge. You are the blood reborn. You are not only human anymore. The cadet staggered back, clutching her head. She wanted to scream, to deny it, but images crashed through her mind, visions not her own. She saw laboratories filled with humans bound in chains, alien scientists carving strange symbols into their skin. She saw blood poured into glass chambers, glowing and shifting as if alive. She saw humans screaming as alien essence fused into their bodies. Most died. Some survived only to be executed. And then she saw something worse. The faces of the creatures who had survived the experiments. They looked human, but their eyes glowed like hers. Their strength was unnatural. Their screams were filled with rage. They tore apart everything around them until the council destroyed them all. Or so they thought. The cadet fell to her knees, gasping. These weren't just whispers. They were memories. the memories of those who came before her. Somehow their blood was inside her now. She pressed her trembling hand against the wound in her chest where the executioner's shot had struck her. The glow beneath her skin pulsed brighter at her touch. The energy there wasn't healing her anymore. It was becoming part of her. The council leader leaned forward, his voice low but sharp. "Do you see now, human? That is not your strength. It is ours. It is alien. It will consume you until nothing of your kind remains." The cadet lifted her, head slowly. Her eyes burned with light, but her voice carried human steadiness. "No, it will not consume me. It will become me." Her words silenced the chamber. Inside, her thoughts warred. She could feel the alien essence urging her to give in, to surrender completely, to let it guide her hand. It promised victory, survival, power. But she also felt the beating of her own heart, the echo of her commander's words from long ago. Courage is standing when fear tries to crush you. She realized the truth. The blood inside her wasn't only alien. It was also human. She wasn't losing herself. She was something new. Her revelation came like fire in her veins. She stood again, straighter than before, her glowing hands steady now instead of trembling. She wasn't a victim of this fusion. She was its choice. The whispers grew louder in her mind, but this time she did not resist. She faced them. "You tried to destroy us before," she whispered aloud. "But your memories are mine now. Your strength is mine, and I am not your puppet. I am human." The severed head on the floor flickered with dying light before going dark at last. The council erupted in shouts. Some elders rose, clawing at the air in fury. Others backed away in horror. One voice screamed above them all, "She is the forbidden one. If she leaves this chamber, our reign will end." The cadet turned her gaze on them. Her face was calm, but her eyes glowed like burning stars. "You should be afraid," she said softly. "Not because of what I carry, but because I know what you did." The visions in her mind, humans tortured, experimented on, buried in secrecy, were proof of the council's sins. She realized their fear of her wasn't only because of her strength. It was because her existence exposed their past. She stepped closer to the council, each footstep echoing. Soldiers tried to block her path, but their weapons lowered before they could even aim. No one dared stop her now. Her voice carried across the hall. "You call me an abomination, but I am the truth you tried to bury. I am the voice of those you silenced, and I am not done." The council leaned back, their arrogance crumbling into panic, and in that moment the cadet's revelation was complete. She was no longer just a survivor. She was no longer just a soldier. She was something the galaxy had never seen before. Both, human and alien, bound together, carrying the power of two worlds, and she would decide how to use it. The chamber had fallen into silence again, but it was not the same silence as before. It was heavier now, thick with dread. The alien council, once proud rulers of countless systems, sat frozen in their seats. Their glowing eyes flickered with disbelief as they stared at the human cadet who stood alone among the wreckage. Her body was covered in blood, her uniform torn to shreds. The faint glow in her veins burned brighter than ever, each pulse like a warning bell. She no longer looked like the fragile cadet who had entered the hall. She looked like something reborn. The cadet lifted her gaze to the council. Her voice was quiet, yet it carried across the vast chamber. "You wanted a trial. Instead, you created a warning." The words struck them harder than any weapon. She stepped forward slowly. Her boots echoed in the hall, the sound sharp against the silence. The soldiers who remained did not raise their weapons. Some lowered their eyes, others stepped back. None dared challenge her now. The cadet bent down and picked up the severed head once more. Its glow was faint, but it no longer whispered to her. It was only a symbol now, a trophy not of victory but of transformation. She raised it high for the council to see. "Look at this," she said. "This is what you made me. This is what you fear." The council leader, His claws shaking, leaned forward. You cannot walk out of this chamber alive. If you do, everything we built will collapse. The cadet's lips curved into the faintest smile, not of joy, but of defiance. Then collapse. Her voice cut through the chamber like lightning. The council recoiled. For centuries they had ruled through fear, but now for the first time they felt it themselves. Their own creation, their own secret, had become their nightmare. The cadet turned toward the doors. Every step she took left bloody prints on the floor. The soldiers near the exit parted like shadows, clearing her path without a word. She walked, slowly, deliberately, her back straight, her head unbowed. Behind her, the chamber trembled with whispers. Elders argued in panic, their voices sharp and broken. Some demanded her immediate destruction. Others whispered of prophecy, of destiny. But all of them knew one thing. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The cadet paused at the threshold of the great doors. She turned her head slightly, her voice echoing one last time. You thought humans were weak. But from this day forward, when your kind speaks of us, you will remember this chamber. You will remember me. The silence that followed was absolute. And then, she stepped into the corridor beyond. The soldiers in the hallway stiffened as she appeared, covered in blood, glowing faintly under the flickering lights. None dared to stop her. Some even stepped aside with their heads lowered. Word spread instantly through comms, across stations, across fleets. A message faster than any ship. The human cadet survived. But the story twisted with each retelling. Some said she rose after death. Others said she carried the head of a commander as if it were a banner. Some whispered she was not human anymore, and all agreed on one thing. She could not be defeated. By the time she reached the outer gates of the council citadel, the fear had already spread. Entire units avoided her path. Officers refused to engage. The air was thick with awe and terror. The cadet walked into the cold night of the alien city, her eyes glowing under the stars. The whispers in her mind were gone now. What remained was silence, but it was her silence, her choice, her strength. Above, the council chamber lights dimmed. Inside, the elders argued desperately about what to do. Some spoke of war against humans, others of peace. But beneath their words was the same truth. They had seen what one human could become, and that fear would grow. The cadet stopped on a high platform overlooking the alien city. Towers of steel rose into the dark sky, glowing with neon lights. She stood there, blood-soaked and unbroken, her silhouette carved against the stars. In that moment, she understood. She was no longer just a survivor. She was no longer just a soldier. She was a symbol, a warning written in blood. The galaxy would remember her not as a cadet, not as a victim, but as the beginning of something new. And in the halls of the council, where whispers traveled faster than light, one word spread among the elders, the soldiers, the people: fear.